I want to thank you all for the many letters I got from you. I read them very carefully. I'd like to read to you just a sample of one letter. Dearest Guruji, I just felt that I had to write to you to thank you for making today the happiest of my life. I'm so grateful and honored for being allowed to learn mandala, which I found to be such a powerful practice. Also for granting my wish to become a teacher. Your spiritual practices have changed my life, and I feel confident that I can change many more people's lives through your teachings. I've known for some time that the only true state of happiness is God consciousness. But up until today, I have only understood this as an intellectual concept. Today, for the first time in my life, I felt it with all my heart. My life no longer feels as if it was one never-ending tunnel, as I can now see light at the end of the tunnel. I am on the course with so many questions to ask you, but after this in your presence, I now feel that you have answered all my questions and given me the strength to know that my decisions are right, as I must accept the responsibility for them. And then with some personal details at the end. My home is always your home, etc., etc. My heart is your heart. Thank you for all the happiness you have brought into my life. Namaste. Very nice. Very nice. Good. What shall we talk about today?
Beloved Guruji, you once said that the word acceptance is a more helpful mental concept for us on the path than the word love, because of our misconceptions about the word love, because the mind cannot fully understand the true nature of love. Would you talk to us of acceptance and how we can accept and let go of our attachment to this plane of existence and accept the tumultuous emotional things that happen to us?
Very good. I'll write a book on that and post it to you next year. Acceptance of a thing is normally first created by the mind, where you accept a certain situation with the mind, but not necessarily with a blind mind or a biased mind. Acceptance should be done in its true form and with true analysis. Then only is the mental acceptance of any validity. Anything you accept with your mind today, you can unaccept or reject the next day, if there is no true understanding of the matter at hand. So it is not only the mind that is at play, but more important is the heart that is at play. Acceptance should not only be with the mind only, but it should contain the force and the power of the heart. It has to have that feeling that I feel I accept this flower to be beautiful. Today I might like this flower, and tomorrow I would get tired of that flower. So what use is that acceptance? But if I thoroughly feel within myself that I accept this flower to be beautiful, then tomorrow that flower will still remain beautiful, and the day after it will still be beautiful. And that is true acceptance. Many times people accept things not by strength, but by weakness, by cowardice. They say, well, nothing can be done about it, so okay. If I am selling the box of chocolates for £2 and I can't find any customer, so then I sell it for £1 which it cost me. Then I accept the £1. But there is no happiness in it, because I know I've put in a lot of work, I've put in a lot of trouble, I've traveled around knocking door to door to sell my chocolates. And now, because I need to feed my wife and children at home, I accept the £1. I'm making no profit at all. But I need that to take some bread home. That's also a kind of acceptance. But With what feeling do you accept? That is the important thing. If the feeling is that, oh well, it's the will of God, I've done my best, then that acceptance has some fruition. It has some value. Otherwise, it is just cowardice. It's a retreat. Because I've lost my job or I've lost my shop, but you did not want to. But because you are placed in such circumstances that there was no other way out for you. But in the beginning, if you accept the situation that I'm going to lose my shop or my job, that I'm going to work very hard to create another situation, a job that is better or a shop that is better, then that acceptance can bear fruit. So with acceptance, there must be determination. The entire India was ruined and is in poverty because of acceptance. A stupid kind of acceptance. So they talk of karma. Oh, what is meant to for me, will come. That is absolute rubbish. That is why the fields are left untilled. The agricultural products are not there. So much hunger. Factories are going idle. Yet there are millions and millions of people are there. But they won't make any effort. No, that is not karma. Karma means action. You do something about it. Then acceptance of the present situation is okay. But you've got to have the determination to better the situation. You don't go and sponge on others, but you see that you fulfill your obligations. And then acceptance is worthwhile. Otherwise, it's retreat. You're cornered in a street by a few hoodlums. So what are you going to do? Just stand still in the corner, you can't get away, and let those two hoodlums smash you up? No, you'll fight. That should be attitude. You accept that I am in a situation from which I cannot escape. But I'm not going to stand still and let them bugger me up. I'm going to fight. I had the experience as a young boy where I was going through a street. It was a lonely street. And there were two young hoodlums there that saw me coming up the road and that they would take off from me. I was a schoolboy that time, whatever few pennies I had on me. But when I saw them standing there, I wouldn't cross over the road and walk on the other side. Put my hand in my pocket to make them feel that I've got no weapon there. And I walked right through between them. And they never touched me. You accept the situation and you do something about it. Otherwise you're a coward. I can give you another example. One Saturday afternoon, I was working late in the office till about 4 o'clock. There was a lot of work to be done. And I said, oh, I'll leave lunch out today, I'll have supper. But the work must be done. So in Cape Town, on a Saturday afternoon, the streets are bare. The streets are empty. And I had to walk through one road which is totally empty. And there were 3 of these hoodlums, gangsters, saw me. And I'm always well dressed and things, and they thought, well, here we could really get something. So I had about a 30 rands in my pocket. So they pushed me in a shop doorway and riffled my pocket. I said, take it. They took it and started running off. And then I shouted to them. I said, hey, you've forgotten my watch. And you've forgotten my fountain pen. Why didn't you take that also? So they came back. And the one said to the other in Afrikaans, hy is 'n ander soorte man, which means he's a different kind of man. And they gave me back my wallet and walked away. I accepted the situation, but I did something about it. You see how acceptance works. Otherwise, just accept things, My child is naughty, so I just accept that the child is naughty. No, you accept that the child is naughty, but you teach him. You teach him a lesson even if you have to use your strap. so he won't be naughty again. So there are many facets to accepting. Not acceptance as a coward, but the true acceptor is a hero, a man, not a mouse. The same thing applies with love, and I've made hundreds of tapes on love, and I don't know if I should repeat these things, because most times it's the same questions that come up again and again and again. Love also requires acceptance. You accept a person initially because of her or his attractiveness, because of the compatibility between the mind and the spiritual soul. There might be some little spark, and that is how you start off with love. But when you allow that spark to grow bigger and bigger, the spiritual spark, until that spark merges with your beloved's spark or the flame, then you know what love is about. Otherwise, it just remains a mental concept, as this person wrote in the letter. You've got to experience it. And if you don't experience it, it's just on the mind level. And as you know, the mind is a very, very cunning animal. The worst cunning animal in the world. Today it will say this, tomorrow it will say that. Today you love a person very much, and tomorrow if the person is a bit harsh to you, then you would start hating him. Then where's the love? Especially me, as a guru. Sometimes I'm harsh to people, and I might even show anger. But that is surface anger. It's not from deep down. It's to teach. Yes. And even that harshness is to teach. And from that they learn. For themselves, to improve their own lives. Like as I gave you the example the other day, I was 15 minutes late in getting up instead of getting up at 4 o'clock in the Himalayas, at the Almora Ashram in Mayavati Himalayas. I was just 15 minutes late. And my guru comes up and, canes my backside. But why are you late? He was teaching me discipline. I learned from it, not he. He knows. He doesn't need to be taught. I was the one that needed to be taught. Just see. So, today you love somebody very much, and because he says a harsh word to you, tomorrow you start hating him. That's not acceptance, and that is not love. That's not dedication, and that is not devotion. So, in love you have dedication. In love you have devotion in its totality, where the mind, the body, and the spirit are all merged into oneness. I have a very favorite story which some of you might have heard, on tapes perhaps, the first time I'm in Dublin. It is this fellow, he went to see his girlfriend, and he knocks on the door, and the lady asks, "Who is it?" And he says, "I'm Mr. Jones." The door was not opened. The next night he goes again and he knocks on the door and she asks from inside, "Who is it?" So he says, "I'm Mr. Jones from Dublin." The door was not opened. And the third night he went again and he knocked on the door. And she asked, "Who is it?" So he replied, "I am thee, my love." And the door was immediately opened. Unless one finds that oneness with another, and to find that oneness there has to be dedication, devotion, sacrifice, and feeling for the other's problems. And that is how love grows, and that is how oneness is found. We want to love for our own personal purposes, our personal selfishnesses. That is not love. It could never be love. Love is selfless, where you forget yourself completely and you're given over and surrendered to your beloved. Then it is love. Love is not something where you could say, I'm going to gain, that I'm loving this person for gain. It is not love. It is no sacrifice at all. When you really and truly understand love, you will understand what God is all about. People are very far from that. But the path is there. And the Guru teaches the path because he has traveled the path and he knows he knows the minds and hearts of people. He knows what path they must take and how to reach the goal. Because he has traveled the path, and that is why he is qualified to show the path. And he not only shows it by words, but by demonstration. Here in this very letter that I read out to you, the person said that he had a concept. Happiness was a concept to him of God consciousness. But on this course, he really experienced it. So it's not only the Guru's words that are important. He gives you the wisdom so your mind can think. So the spiritual force he pours out to each and every one here. That is important. That is what alters your lives. Every time you get a mantra from me, which I, going into deep meditation, like something like communion last night, going through all that suffering, to reach the core of your personality, to see what you are made of, at what state of evolution you are, your emotional state, your physical state. That's no joke. It's a job. Many times I have to sit for hours and hours to get in contact with another person's inner spirit. Hours and hours. Sometimes I can't do it in 1 hour today, leave it for the next day for another hour, another hour, another hour. Some people I can contact immediately, depending upon their state of mind. That is love. That is sacrifice. In those same hours I could have gone out and earned some money for my wife and children to buy them bread. But I did because of my love for humanity. And when that mantra is given to you, it is not just the syllables which represents your vibrations, but it carries with it that universal spiritual force that I gather from the superconscious level and pass it on to you with that sound. That is love. We sacrifice all your time and energy, and yet your wife and children can be starving. That is love. Yes. When I left home, and I'm on a tour for about 2.5 months, I'm home now 17 days already. And do you know what I left with my wife? Because I didn't have money. I left with her 35 rand, which is about 30 pounds. But I did tell her. I have very good friends. I said, look, I know you'll be running short. Go to my friend GB, right, and ask him to give you a loan. So when I come back, I can repay him. That is love. A total sacrifice for humanity. What do they do in return for me? I don't care. Although sometimes you get hurt because you got to make your ends meet. It cost me more than 500 pounds a week to live, home and children. Well, I don't care. He is up there and he knows how to look after me. He will. And a little bit of suffering, so what? We take to example the sufferings of Krishna and Buddha and Christ. And I say, okay, if those guys suffered, why shouldn't I suffer too? Most people can come face to face with divinity and not even recognize it. If Christ should walk down the road here, the police will arrest him for vagrancy. That I promise you. In his tattered clothes. That is the world. It's a cruel, cruel world. But within the cruelness, I find so much love. Because I can only see love. I see nothing else but love. And even my anger, if I'm angry with someone, that anger too is filled with deep love. There's many ways to express it. You spank your child with a strap, it hurts you more than the child. But you're teaching the child something. That is love. So, to recap, love requires dedication, devotion, sacrifice, selflessness, and total regard for the other and not for yourself. because the welfare of others you must regard to be your own welfare. It rebounds on you in some way or the other, tenfold. So yeah. I've got thousands of letters in my files. I can show you, if you read them, how people have benefited in every way. Terminal cancer cases have been cured through our practices and Guru Shakti. So many blind people have come to see, had begun to see, and deaf people to hear. And that we call miracles. I don't call them miracles. I call them an understanding of the deeper laws of nature to which the ordinary human mind has not yet developed. Perhaps one day that might come about. We don't know, and we don't like prophecies. So love has many implications. People talk of making love. Rubbish. Rubbish. You don't make love. How can you make love? The husband and wife are sleeping together. They're entitled for their physiological needs, biological needs, but it should be so that the woman totally disappears and the man totally disappears, and a vast universal orgasm just remains. They disappear because they have disappeared into divinity, and so that very sexual act becomes a meditation. You see, that is love. Otherwise, it's nothing but lust. The total emergence is required to really know love. We're getting a bit too serious now. See what we got here in the magic pocket. This one Irishman went to work, and he had one red sock on and the other one was green. So his friend asks him, he says, man, what is this, one red sock and one green sock? So this Irishman replies, I've got another pair like that at home. So this chap went to the editor of a newspaper and he says, I want to, advertise a funeral announcement. What do you charge? So the editor says, 50p per inch. So the chap says, oh dear me, my brother was 6 feet 4 inches tall. So this couple was in bed, husband and wife, and so the wife asks, he says, did you put out the cat? He says, yeah, I did. So the wife says, I don't believe you. So he replies, if you call me a liar, why don't you go and put the cat out yourself? And then this other Irishman, he found a job in an observatory. In an observatory where they observe the stars, and the professor was looking through the telescope, and this chap was standing there, and they had a screen, and they could see on the screen what's up there. Fine. Today with the modern TV technology, they could have it on screens. So he was looking through this microscope, and at that time, there was a falling star. So this man says, Professor, you are a really good shot. And then this other couple had twins. So the friend asks, do they make a lot of noise at night? So he says, yes. He says, when the one twin cries, I can't hear the other twin crying. This parson says, I've come to pray for you. Church minister, parson, come to pray for you because Casey threw a brick at you. So this chap says, hold it, Father. Don't pray now yet. You pray for Casey after I get well. So this Kerry woman sends a waistcoat to her son, and she writes a note in the parcel that I've taken off the buttons to save weight, but you'll find the bottoms in the top pocket. And then, of course, you know what a weather vane is? You know, that cock you have on the roof, you know, shows you the direction of the wind. So this chap asked that why do they always have cocks, you know, on the weather vane? Why not hens? So his friend replies, because it's so high up, it'll be difficult to reach there to collect the eggs. So, thank you very much. It's been very nice indeed. Good night. Have a pleasant evening.